Dean, do I get to go off campus too?
Yeah.
So before I get started, if you're comfortable, I invite all members of the audience to close your eyes. And imagine a place where danger is always imminent and the enemy is not easily identified. A place so riddled with violence that you are unable to survive without your weapons or your team. The smell of this environment makes you sick to your stomach, and the sounds of gunshots are heard off in the distance or even from cars driving by. At any moment, you may be called upon to cause death, witness death, or inflict serious bodily harm, just to survive. Now, are you willing to open your eyes to the fact that this place could be Iraq or Overtown, Afghanistan or Liberty City, Syria or Sistrunk? Because African Americans in times of war are not exclusive to those that serve in a war zone, and in order to do this subject justice, we must consider those that are currently living in them. Don't believe me? Go talk to the 16-year-old that I spoke to last week that equated my combat experience with his everyday life. Now, as a United States Marine Corps veteran, I served proudly on the shoulders of giants. Heroes such as Crispus Attucks in the Revolutionary War, Lemuel Haynes, which was the first black Minuteman, Major Martin Delaney, who was the first black field officer, Corporal Freddie Stowers, Medal of Honor, Lieutenant Baker, Medal of Honor, Harriet M. Whiting, who was the highest ranking African American female in the Army Corps in World War II, General James Chappie Jr., first black general, Tuskegee Airmen, Montford Point, first black Marines, and Buffalo Soldiers. As a serviceman, I get goosebumps thinking about these men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice to defend the nation's rights and freedoms when they themselves had no right to freedom. Do you hear what I just said? They made the ultimate sacrifice to defend the rights and freedoms of a nation that they had no rights and freedoms themselves. That is the definition of selfless service. Something that my naive 17-year-old ass had nothing that I knew about when I joined. As a matter of fact, I would have never imagined myself on this stage honoring African Americans during the time of war. Why? Because just like most children of the African diaspora, I was completely disconnected from my root until I was stationed in Africa, unaware of being African American, until an African man told me, Spanish, my brother, you are black like me. Understand that throughout my life when I was growing up, people always used to ask me, hey Drew, where are you from? And in the most Hispanic Latino accent I could conjure up, I would say, Nicaragua. But then they'll probably start talking to me in Spanish real fast, going with their R's, and I can't for the life of me. So I did what any kid would do. I called my grandma. So I'm like, Abuela! And she goes, Hola, papito. Well, you know, my belly does hurt sometimes, so me just buy a little ginger. You hungry? Come make a fry some egg and rice and beans with a little bit of plantain, and that sounds nothing like Spanish. So, I went to a family party. There gotta be Hispanics over there, right? So I walk up to my Tio Fernando, and he goes, "Hey boy, now, I know he got dreadlocks, and all he does is listen to Bob Marley music, but he got that Spanish name though." So I say, "Where are we from?" He goes, "Carn Island." Now, before I could ask any follow-up questions, he told me to hand him those 3 records over there, but instead of 3, he said tree, and I was pretty sure the tree was outside, so I just got a map. All right. Managua, Matagalpa, Leon, Bluefields, Corn Island, Pearl Lagoon. Apparently this map is having the same identity crisis I am. And for my Latin brothers and sisters who experience this same identity crisis, I will call upon the words of the great Paul Mooney in saying that if you take an African zebra and put him in Canada, it does not make him a Canadian zebra, just like if you take Africans, put them on an island and teach them Spanish, it don't make them Spanish. They just some Spanish-speaking black folks that can swim. Which brings me to Sonkafa. Sonkafa is a word from the Akan tribe of Ghana, and it means it is not taboo to fetch what is at risk of being left behind. Or simply put, go back and fetch it. I believe that the ultimate honoring of African Americans who fought during times of war is to go back to the neighborhoods in which they came from and do one of 3 things: empower, educate, or employ. Empower the youth by simply showing that you care. Educate the people about a better way of life and put them back in touch with their roots. And if you have resources, employ them. Because as a nation, we are indebted to the selfless service given unto us from African Americans throughout history. They've done violence on our behalf so that we can be free here at home. So let's do peace on their behalf by fixing up their homes they come back to.